Yeah.
And the whole time I was in nursing school, I was not just working in the hospital, but I was actively investing in my future. I was, you were one of those people that I would be like, hey, if you've got time while you're doing what you're doing, tell me what you're doing. Do you mind if I observe? Can I watch that dressing change? Can I help you with this, that, or the other thing? And so I spent all of that time, not just in nursing school and not just working, but trying to blend the two. So, yeah. So here I am, it's been a year now. I had kind of a rough start in terms of just anxiety because the patients on our unit are so sick sometimes. We see people who had a lung transplant 5 days ago, and it's palliative care. We have people die on a regular basis. It's all very intense, but now that I've hit my year mark, it really is true what they tell you when you're a new nurse. It takes you a solid 6 to 12 months to kind of feel like you're not just totally fucking everything up that you touch. So,
it's the truth.
So that's me. That's who I am. And, honestly, the thing that I think has drawn us together in this endeavor is that we both have very active online lives. We're both actively invested in educating other people with, not saying that we are necessarily, superior authorities, but
yes,
with nursing, the team sport that it is, I think it's important that we obviously take what we've learned and the experiences that we've had, and we share them to make other people's nursing experience better.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
So that's kind of my summary and my philosophy, and I think that kind of, basically where we're both coming from and where we're going in terms of wanting to share what we know has brought us to this point where we're doing the Med Room Chronicles. And so I think it's important just briefly that we tell people what it is this channel is about and what they can expect from us and what actually med rooms are like. Most nurses probably know, but for our audience that's not in the nursing profession, which we might get some of those too, curious people. So Andrew, what would you say a med room environment is like culturally?
So the med room is where the filters of nursing come off. It's like you have a face that you work with, a nurse that takes care of you, smiles, dotes upon you, and we love to do it. But we also have our own frustrations and our challenges. And that's where the venting and the unfiltered nature of the med room comes about. It's strange. It's like medicine almost when it comes to the med room. You walk in, you see a coworker, and you're like, holy fucking shit. Bed 30 is a total douchebag. I can't even go into his room. And then as soon as the med room door opens, it's like back on the nursey face. I'm going into 30. I'm going to give, let's say it's John Smith and bed 30, and I'm going to do my nursey thing. I'm going to give him my professional face. I'm going to treat him with respect, even if they don't treat me with respect. So,
exactly.
The med room is a safe place for nurses, and
it's locked.
It's locked. Yep. It's only professionals healthcare professionals can walk in there. So it's going to be your pharmacist your pharmacists or nurses. Every now and again, you'll see a doctor in there if they're lost.
Or if they're chasing you down.
They're chasing you down. That's the thing. Yeah, they're hunting you for something, And I love the med room, though I kind of change in the med room sometimes. I feel like I get really bitchy in the med room, and I can't help it. It's like the only place that we can, really confide in our coworkers in a safe way.
Yeah. You've got to remember though, each one of us is an individual pressure cooker, And, we're dealing with high stress, competing demands, itchy douchebags in room 30, all of these things. And we're internalizing all of it so that we can be professional, courteous, caring, all of these things. So going into the med room is like releasing the valve for a second and letting that steam out so that the lid doesn't pop off and explode all over the unit. so that you don't pot roast on the walls.
Right? Oh, yes. Yep. If the med room itself wasn't available, I really feel that's a really good point that nurses, could maybe not explode on patients, but certainly get short and feisty and, not take as much crap because it's like group therapy in the med room, especially when you get 4 or 5 nurses in a med room. Holy shit. It's a whole different ball game. It's like you start talking about your war stories. You remember that guy 2 weeks ago that, blah, blah, blah. You remember that guy or that girl that did this or that with her, whatever. It's like, you know what I mean, Adrianne?
And sometimes those war stories come along with actual like scars or injuries. You're like, man, I just can't get rid of this shoulder ache because of that. That patient with a BMI of 78 or whatever it was a few months back. So, and I think the other thing is that in the med room is like also, it's not just my place where I go to vent, but it's also the place where I go kind of to make my plans. It's not just, we're constantly making decisions on the fly, prioritizing in the hallway, at the bedside, in the coffee room. Like we're constantly replanning and rerouting ourselves, so to speak, as things. But the med room, that's, some nurses keep their med sheets in there. I keep mine in my pocket because they're my brains. But that's the space where you go when you're like, okay, I'm going to go see this patient. I'm going to look over their med list. I'm going to get their meds together. What do I need to take with me? You're actively kind of pulling yourself together for that patient. So I think it serves lots of different purposes, but it's true. I've always wondered what it looks like on the cameras to security. If anybody's looking at those cameras when there's 4 of us in there and arms are flailing and faces are getting really passionate and we're throwing pens on the counter. Yeah. But yeah, it's an important space. So that kind of idea or philosophy is what's behind this podcast. We are, we're coming at you guys raw, talking about things that actually bother us, things that we want to learn more about, things that we maybe didn't know about. There's really no topic off limit. So you're a traveler, so we'll see a lot of traveling information. I am brand new, so I'd like to direct a lot of my discussion towards new nurses, nursing students, or, nurses that have maybe been away for a while and come back and are trying to get, which, I'm working with a few nurses like that right now who said, man, I started and then I quit and then now I'm back and damn, I wish I hadn't taken that break. So we'll kind of talk about all of that. And then, we'll bring in guests from time to time, other nurses. I already have a friend who's a social worker who wants to come talk to us about self-care, and she is amazing. So people have that to look forward to, yes.
That's exciting.
Because really, even though she is not a nurse, she's someone that I talk to a lot about not just self-care, but there's a book, actually, I can't remember who the author is, but it's called Trauma Stewardship. And that phrase by itself has always kind of hung over me as I work, not in a bad way, but as a reminder that, we are basically taking on and being stewards of trauma for people that we've never even met. So without getting too deep or too dark, we basically want to give you kind of an uncensored look at the talk that happens in the med room. And on that note, I do want to say we'll say this probably almost certainly at the beginning of every show. We have talked and are very diligent about complying with HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. So everything that we talk about is a conglomeration of experiences from the probably thousands of patients we've taken care of over lots and lots of years. So if you think we're talking about you, we're not. We are smart and savvy enough to know that I'm not going to be like Joe Blow with the ruptured appendix told me.
Right.
There's not going to be any of that. And if we do slip up, well, that's what the edit button is for. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to, that's a good point is, my example previously about this John Smith, I was just pulling a name out of memory or just made it up completely. It's almost like a John Doe or John Smith.
Yeah, so if your name is John Smith,
right.
it's
sorry.
not you.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever taken care of a John Smith, but yeah.
I don't think I have either.
All my stories are going to be altered in a way that, protects the privacy of our patients. I'm going to complain about some patients for sure, without a doubt. And some people I've met just as part of the Med Room persona. But as far as anonymity and privacy, I respect that privacy because nobody wants to hear about themselves over a public podcast. And that's important. I mean, I have a real hard time talking to people over the phone at work. Because I have no idea who's on the other end, no matter what they tell me. Oh, I'm in such and such POA. Well, bullshit. I don't believe you.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just can't. I have a hard time trusting that, and so, and as nurses, we are highly accountable to that federal law. I believe it is.
Absolutely.
I think people can even get fined and even jail time depending on the severity.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we'll follow HIPAA and. We'll protect people's privacy and during our cheer.
And that goes for our fellow nurses as well. We're not going to be like, Betty Lou. She's so dumb. She gave an intramuscular injection in the foot. I don't know. I just made that up. That was dumb. But so anyway, I think that kind of gives people a good sense of what we're here to do. And so we plan on, bringing lots of content, and it will be varied. If you like what we're saying and what we're doing, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, Med Room Chronicles, and also check us out on our other social media. And we'll also link down in the description some links to some of Andrew's social media. Andrew, I'm sure you'd like to let people look at what you got going on because you're building an impressive body of work. And if anyone is thinking about traveling or they're currently traveling and would just like some pro tips, I think that the resources you've already put together are great. So do you want to actually just talk about that for a second, or is that in too early stages?
No, sure. I'd love to talk about it. I talk about it too much, probably.
No, this is the perfect forum.
Okay, cool. So, yes, a brief backstory is a couple months ago I decided to make some travel nursing videos on a whim, just to see what would happen. And I got my cell phone out. I recorded myself. I did a top 10 tips about travel nursing, posted it on some major websites, and it got picked up immediately. And I've been contacted by companies to work with them and do some videos and stuff, which is really amazing opportunity that was totally unexpected. But basically what I do is I want to educate people that are interested in travel nursing. I love mentoring. I love taking time out of my day to help someone that has questions about this. And that's the premise behind my videos. I answer common questions. I also put my contact information in the descriptions. my email. People email me all the time. In fact, I talked to a nurse recently that was really burned by